It all started the morning of June 26, 1928, when 10 sturdy Puget Sound cruisers departed the Olympia Yacht Club for what was then the longest and most ambitious powerboat race ever staged. 1,000 adventurous miles across rugged straits, through narrows, and up the BC coastline to Juneau, Alaska. A half-century later, this historic handicap race continues to challenge Northwest boatmen and women, as we discover in this week's adventure, which deals with the sport of predicted log racing and takes an exciting look at the past, when Puget Sound was actually 50 years younger and handicap cruiser competition is still in its infancy. Our subject, the famed capital-to-capital boat race.
Alongside a dock, or
you'll be alongside another boat. Tie right alongside Paradox here.
Okay.
They had been arriving since Thursday, including the classics. Creamed and polished reminders of an age which saw the beginning of the sport of handicap cruiser competition. Cruisers from Vancouver and Victoria, from Seattle, Tacoma, Everett, Olympia. From 14 of the major yacht clubs in the Puget Sound area.
When they start to leave, because they're going to be starting to leave at different times.
Power boaters typical of millions of water-struck folk here in the United States, whose geographical range of enjoyment extends from the sandy inlets of Chesapeake Bay to the fur-rimmed reaches of Puget Sound and north to Alaska. And whose most popular and exacting type of pleasure boat competition is known as a predicted log contest. And by Saturday morning, 65 boats were on hand for the 50th anniversary running of the capital-to-capital yacht race, hosted by the Olympia Yacht Club.
That tide coming down there at about an angle of 110, and with that kind of an angle, that effect of that tide, which is about 9/10 of a knot, isn't it?
Ideally, racing partners Hal Wolf and Skip Schmidt would have enjoyed more than the 45 days they had taken to prepare for the race, considering their division of responsibilities. As Commodore of the host club, Hal had spent a good portion of that time working with Ted Clue and Joe Falcone on general arrangements. As for Skip Schmidt, whose father helped to inaugurate the sport of predicted log racing in the Northwest with the first capital-to-capital yacht race, this latest one held more than a passing interest. Pioneered in 1928, it was the first cruiser event to be run under the sanction of the American Powerboat Association on the Pacific Coast. Also the longest, from Olympia, Washington to Juneau, Alaska. A 1,000-mile event which attracted the attention of the prestigious New York Yacht Club and national press. Limited to boats no more than 65 feet in length, the idea was to stimulate interest in yachting by men who, in the main, handled their own boats. 10 boats were entered, and departing the Olympia Yacht Club on June 26, 1928, powerboating's greatest long-distance race became part of history. Skip Schmidt, shown here, was 8 years old at the time. Except for the war years and the first 3 years of the race when it was run each year. The Olympia to Juneau cruiser race is run every 10 years. And Mr. and Mrs. Skip Schmidt were on hand to participate in the golden anniversary celebration as the Olympia Yacht Club lived up to its slogan as the host with the most. Co-chairman by Skip Schmidt and Ken Smith, the 1978 race would run in two sections. The international section from Olympia to Victoria, with the Alaska racers continuing to Juneau. An 1,100-mile course designed to test the skill of the skipper rather than the power of his boat or the luck of the draw. Using his dad's old racing number borrowed from Harold Murray, Skip would be racing aboard the Happy Gold, owned and skippered by Hal Wolf.
We're okay, and we've got 30 minutes to start right now.
Ed Lovell would act as official observer, serving as an impartial witness and computing any difference between elapsed and predicted times. 5 classes would compete in the run to Victoria, the slower boats starting first. All departures made from a standing start.
Okay, we got to come up.
A minute, 1 minute. 37, 38, 39, 40, 1, 2, 3, start!
Okay. We're at the RPM. We're on the RPM. We're on course. Okay, we're on the RPM port. On course. Oh, wait. No, wait. I've got to get on course. I'm on my RPM. I'm on course. Okay.
On your RPM.
Time 12:35:44. That's beautiful.
12:35:44.
Great. Good show. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Beautifully done. Thanks so much.
The Happy Gold, a 53-foot Chris-craft, is powered by 3 marine engines, only 2 of which would be used.
What's our compass?
Cruising speed had been determined at 10 knots.
Thank you.
347 degrees.
We're right on. We're right on. You got her?
Having determined how fast the boat travels when the engine is running at a given level of RPMs, the known distance of the course legs are divided by the speed to yield time predictions. These predictions are then adjusted to account for the strength and direction of the tidal currents at the time they're encountered. Control points are established to check the elapsed time prediction for each leg. Approaching the Narrows Bridge at Tacoma, the Happy Gold would encounter its first control point.
And
Ready to mark?
we're on course. We're on course. We are on course. Mark! Okay, did you get the time? Okay, did you get a mark? Did you? Okay, start check.
Tidal action is strong in the Narrows, about 5.5 knots, depending on when you hit it. Passing through the Narrows, the classic Shearwater, owned by Joe Rindle, Commodore of the Queen City Yacht Club, could figure on a tidal current that was running just a little under what was once considered a good cruising speed, back when the first real production-type cruisers ever built in the Northwest were known as the Lake Union Dreamboat.
The first time somebody had taken an idea and said, we ought to be able to build a production boat that we can sell, semi-mass produce and sell at less cost to the boating public in the Northwest. Round, fairly flat bottom, fairly shallow draft, so you could go into almost any little cove. Would cruise at 8 knots and basically go 8 knots wide open.
A gathering at Eagle Harbor represented all the cruisers in Puget Sound at that time. And a visit to the Hiram Chittenden locks was enough to leave a lasting impression on anybody.
I remember going through those for the first time. It was for a little boy, and I was pretty small. It was pretty spooky when we went in and the tide went out and the moss on the side and you were looking up. I must have been 6 years, 7 years old.
The cranky outboard had yet to mature into the dependable engine that now speeds some 8 million owners around their favorite waters. But there were advantages even then. Yet to come were the seagoing parking lots. A boat owner can simply set a mooring in the water at a convenient and protected spot. Or he could join a yacht club, where in return for a relatively modest fee, he got a clubhouse, regattas, and a social life. And by the early 30s, the Seattle Yacht Club had already established the opening day parade as a harbinger of spring. Joining the parade to the Montlake Cut, boat owners like Adolf Schmidt could bask in the special satisfaction of knowing that if they wished, they would never have to drop anchor twice in the same cove.
He also used to say, 1 week with the girls and 2 weeks with the fellas. That was enough for a full cruise.
Each shining deck represented a dream of escape or speed, of peace or elemental challenge. And offering an incredible 2,000 miles of available shoreline, Puget Sound and its adjoining inlets could look forward to becoming the boating capital of the world. For no people on earth can dispose of so much navigable water as the boating public of the Northwest. But that was all yet to come when these pictures were taken by Olympia yachtsman Adolf Schmidt. Nor did he and John Pierce realize the role they would play in making it the boating capital. On the other hand, maybe they did. Launched on a wave of fiberglass and mass production, there are more than 10 million pleasure boats in America today. And winding up the first leg of the Capital to Capital International Cruiser Race with an overnight stop at the Everett Yacht Club, the Happy Gold prepared for another rousing reception and looked forward to 20 more days of predicted log racing before dropping anchor in Juneau's Gastineau Channel, 1,000 miles to the north. In predicted log contests, weather is the great unknown. Not that rainy weather is unknown in Puget Sound country. Even the ducks have a habit of complaining now and then. But happenstance always plays a role in any sea passage. And entering the second day of the Capital to Capital International Cruiser Race, any major change in weather could drastically alter the speed. Each leg of the race amounts to a separate contest, testing the team's ability to match the actual times of the checkpoints with their predictions. And time differences due to slowness or excess speed accumulate from leg to leg. By the rules, this can't be made up. To do so would only increase the contestants' total net air. And except for the checkpoints, there's no way of keeping a running check on the time.
11:19:11, Bill, and the timepiece is now officially yours.
All right.
Okay, and you'll hand her over.
And your watches?
All right.
The official clock remains in the possession of the official observer. All other timepieces or time-related instruments are either surrendered or covered in some manner. And departing the Everett Yacht Club, the Happy Gold would again be navigating by chart, tachometer,
30,
and compass.
31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, start!
Okay.
We're right on. Okay, write her down there. As soon as you get going on course, then
Recording the time of the start, the problem sometimes comes in making sure you're coordinated to start with.
That's all right. You've written down 11:34. The time is 11:43.
You're right.
You're quick.
That's good.
Good for you.
That's why we check. Okay. Did you guys do that on purpose, or was that a real world type of thing?
No, that was a real thing.
That's exactly.
The international section from Olympia to Victoria have been divided into 3 legs.
Okay.
The first leg, a 60-mile run to Everett.
11:43:37.
Proceeding on the second leg from Everett to Deception Pass, the first control point for the Happy Gold would be the Anamak Point Light on the west side of Camano Island in Saratoga Passage.
Are you ready to mark?
Ready?
On course. On course.
Mark!
Let's see the clock.
Pick up the other direction.
Thank you. The most important place for us is Olympia Point. That's where the control is. That's where we find out if we did what we said we were going to do. And the way the boat feels to me now, and this may feels like we're moving faster, but we're only talking about 3/10 of a knot of current. Very little more because we'll pick
Allowing for the influence of tidal conditions in advance, contestants determine what effect they will have on the speed of the boat and compensate accordingly if necessary. Approaching Deception Pass, however, they be allowed a free run. Swirling through this turbulent passage between two major islands, tidal currents can run as high as 11.5 knots at maximum flood. Only a few boats could reach it at the optimum time because of the staggered starts. And to keep everything fair, the racing committee had seen fit to interrupt the race at Hope Island. A discretionary maneuver which allowed the option of going through the pass or taking the longer route by way of Swinomish Slough. Reconvening on the Rosario Strait side of Fidalgo Island, the Happy Gold would start the third leg of the race off Burroughs Island, light, at a position abeam to starboard and within 500 yards.
20, 21, go!
We're on the RPM, we're on course. Okay, we're on the RPM port, on course.
50 years ago, on the run to Alaska, racers were allowed only 3 hours a day to rest, and there was a 10-day limit to finish the race. Position reports were relayed back by radio and broadcast by KOMO in Seattle. Heading across Rosario Strait, the Happy Gold's racing flag whipped briskly in the freshening breeze and gave indication that she was proceeding on course. Any obstacle, another boat, even a crab pot, could force them from their designated path and call for a brief compensatory change of speed. However, time lost due to observing the rules of the road and mechanical problems can be deducted from the running time of the leg in which the loss occurs. Observing the racing flag and the boat crossing his bow, the skipper of the sailboat is aware of the circumstances and proceeds accordingly. Unfortunately, a slow-moving tug with a tow could hardly be expected to do the same.
Of course, I remember my dad figuring the races. A friend of his would help him, and they would go over the tide tables. Basically the same thing we do today, but of course they didn't have some of the aids. They didn't have any radar, no transmitting radio. The only depth sounder they had was a lead line.
Today, a well-marked course led them across Rosario Strait through Thatcher Pass, Barney Channel, and Wasp Passage to Control Point 6, and westerly through Spiden Channel. Continuing past Danger Shoal and Battleship Island, the Happy Gold turned to port and entered a troubled Harrow Strait. Proceeding across the strait toward Haines Channel, they searched for the earliest possible glimpse of the two radio towers on Strong Tide's Islet, which marked the finish line for this section of the race.
Should be going right through the slot, right down there.
That one that's right dead ahead,
Yeah.
are you sure?
See the two? Yeah.
Yeah. See the land coming down on the right.
Yeah.
Crossing the towers to port, they could mark as soon as the two towers came in line.
Getting close.
We're getting close. Are you ready to mark?
Ready to mark.
Okay, now just freeze the watch when we finish, okay?
Ready.
And
Ready.
wait a minute, Skip. Okay, they're on course. They're on course. Mark! That's it. That's it.
Hang on.
Hang on. Isn't that beautiful? Woo-wee. A minute and a half. We were 3 minutes fast. The leg before. We were slow on that leg. Check. You want to take the wheel, will you? Oh, that's a long trip. 1:47:45. 1:47:45. We were off 1 minute. We were off 1 minute and 45 seconds.
1 minute, 45 seconds on that lake? Well, that's pretty good.
Who's excited?
Who's excited? That's worth being excited about. Yeah!
Now we'll find out if we won or lost.
I don't think we won anything. That 3-minute leg cost us.
Yeah.
But
that was a good race anyway.
Competing in a contest in which the winners finish only fractionally off the target or right on, Skip and Hal had come close, but not close enough. Twice before, however, they had won the Olympia Cup, and this had been their best race yet. For 25 of the boats, including the Happy Gold, the waters of Cadborough Bay were but a stopover, a place to drop anchor, reception at the Royal Victoria Yacht Club. The big race was still ahead, the completion of the grueling 21-day capital-to-capital cruiser race, inaugurated by Skip's father, back when Skip was still wearing knee socks and knickers. Known as the Alaska Run, it would follow essentially the same course as the 1928 race, which had proven once and for all that small cruisers could safely make the trip to Alaska via the Inside Passage. And commemorating the 50th anniversary of the event that Adolph Schmidt and John Pierce had created, the Happy Gold was one of 17 boats that went on to cross the finish line in Juneau, Alaska.
the thing that I really appreciated out of this race was the fact that I learned the waters and really got a feel for Alaska that I never would have gotten any other way.
Final entry in the logbook of the 50th year of the Olympia to Juneau yacht race. After a half-century, it looks like the capital-to-capital race has become a permanent part of the Northwest scene, a challenge to skill and stamina, and a point of pride to Northwest powerboat skippers, whose abilities continue to withstand the test of time. Next week, another exciting adventure. Till then, this is Don McCune reminding you that it's all on Exploration Northwest.